They're trying to erase our history as if it's irrelevant, but it's our responsibility as parents. It's our responsibility as grandparents. It's our responsibility as a race and a people to teach the history.
Hi, welcome back. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Love Speaks. I am one of your hosts, Francois, alongside this wonderful, gorgeous lady. What's your name?
Lakeisha.
Hey, Lakeisha, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
Nothing much. You got a man?
I do.
Okay. Does he mind me coming in for? Never mind. Welcome back to Love Speaks. We are super excited. Of course, we're in the month of June. And so I believe in Black History 365, Black History every day of the year. I'm so grateful. I respect and I honor all cultures of the world, but it's a poor frog that does not praise its own pond. And I was born as a black man, and I'm proud to be a black man. One of the things about in our country, the United States of America, we have to embrace our total history. We have to embrace our total history. One thing about me, I am a black man in America, and I
For
love,
sure.
for sure, I love being a black man in America. I can't go back to a country that I've never been in, but this is our country, and we have a real history, and it's important for us to embrace the totality of our history. Um, and of course, I can just talk about this thing. And for me, um, I remember this song that I learned in Shadowlawn Elementary School. And I remember this song particularly, and it's amazing. It looks like nobody else knew this song but me. But I remember this song. We used to sing a song said, "In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. He sailed and sailed and sailed and sailed to find this land for me and you." And we will often sing that song in October for Columbus. So now, as history has progressed itself federally, we still recognize Columbus Day as a federal holiday, but on most other parts of our United States of America, they no longer recognize it. I think we've made it but we don't recognize it anymore. But I happened to sit down and think about this, and it did something in my spirit. It did something in my spirit. In 1492, Columbus supposedly discovered the Americas. And from 1492, they started importing Africans to enslave them. From 1492 to 1865 is a rough 400 years of enslavement. 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed with Abraham Lincoln to liberate all enslaved individuals. We celebrate Juneteenth because 2 years later, 1865, June 19th, Texas did not give the memo to the enslaved black people then. And so when they got the memo, hey, we was free 2 years ago. Now we have the holiday of Juneteenth because the reality is we're not free if all of us aren't free. So from 1865 to roughly 1965, we are still dealing with Jim Crow, segregation, blacks being discriminated against, that's a whole nother 100 years. So we're dealing with already 500 years with a lack of total freedom. 1965 to now, we don't have a good, clean 100 years as a total free black people. My motto behind that, and my thought behind that is we've come a long way considering what our history is. We've made it to the White House. We're top of the line in athletics and science and music and arts, politics. We're top of the line considering we have not had 100 years of total freedom. So when people try to downgrade some of us who are still trying to come along, because we had this beat into our system for 500 years. It's embranded in our DNA that we've been treated less than. So I am extremely proud as a African American black man in America of our accomplishments as black people.
Okay, we have come a very long way, but still have a very long way to go as a people. And oftentimes we hear from our leaders who have gone before us, if we ever want to know where we come from, ask those who are on their way back, or either if we want to know where we've been, amen, ask those who've been there. And so I often reflect, just growing up as a kid, I wasn't a part of that, being enslaved, of course, because that's not my generation. But I still saw some of the residue that lingered because my parents and grandparents were from the South. And I can remember traveling to Georgia with them for a family reunion. And so it was then that I learned that Southern, I'm a city girl, born in the city. We didn't experience that. We played, amongst each other, if you want to call it the hood. We had a camaraderie there. We had friendship and we had love in our neighborhood, and we didn't branch out much. But when we went for that family reunion, I can just remember, embracing my grandmother and just the language, go out there and pick cotton. Pick who? From the South, Grandma. We're not picking cotton. Wait, how do I do this? And so we kind of learned. But one experience that I experienced that made me kind of shift my perspective in regards to racism and where we are today as a people is I remember being at a family reunion, and we were there visiting. It was one of my siblings and I was there in Savannah, Georgia. And I remember us playing with each other. And so we went outside, and there was a little Caucasian girl who was down the street, and she approached us and said, well, come to my house, let's play school. So I can remember my sister and I walking to her house. And as we stood outside of our house, I could just hear conversation going on. And the little girl comes back out, and she looked at my sister and I and says that I can't play with black children. Excuse me? I said, okay, no problem with us because we got each other. So we walked away, but we were still somewhat amazed because at that time it was still like in the 80s. And so we went to my grandmother, and I say, Grandma, the girl just said she can't play with us because we're black. And so my grandmother had to have the story, told to us at that time, what racism really would look at. And we heard it because my dad was pro-black. My dad was all black. He was so black till I can remember my mom, who having 9 girls, 1 boy, the only boy in our house. And my mother named him Christopher. And my dad, she didn't even know, but my dad went down and had his name changed. And it wasn't until she went to pick him up from school one day that she discovered that her only son name had been changed from Christopher to Mr. And so as a kid, I asked my mom, I'm like, well, why why dad change? And he said, because he will always be respected. They will not call him son. They will not call him boy. They will call him by his name. And his first name was Mr. So he changed his name to Mr. Christopher because he understood what it felt like and to live in that era where there was no respect for you because of the color of your skin. So for him to demand the respect, he demanded with his name.
So we're excited. I'm ready. We have a great guest on today, Miss Ann Johnson, who is the daughter of a civil rights activist right here in Miami, Florida. Miss Gladys Taylor was phenomenal, and to me still is phenomenal, for her legacy still lives on. She is one, when we talk about activists, we have to understand that Dr. Martin Luther King did not do it by himself. It's impossible for one person to do it by themselves. So there are many that we don't celebrate as well as we should, but I'm so grateful to be connected with this great family. And she was one of the ones who was influential in the 1971 walk to Tallahassee for prison reform. With the McDuffie riot that took place, she was also a very influential voice during that time. Ladies and gentlemen, please turn your attention as we watch this small clip.
The 1980 McDuffie riots were sparked by acquittal of 4 police officers in the beating death of Arthur McDuffie, a black motorcyclist. The riots, which occurred from May 17th through May 20th, 1980, caused widespread destruction, particularly in Liberty City and other areas of Miami.
But that spring in Miami, 25 years after the civil rights movement began, the American dream was on trial.
I'm asking for the black people to be calm, because this time we can't take this thing now. We must take to the streets again like we did in the 60s.
Thank you for being with us on Love Speaks. I'm so excited to have you. You know, you like my auntie, and I really appreciate it. We would just watch that powerful video, seeing your mom on the front line. How does it feel just being able to see her like that? I mean, tell us about it.
It's emotional. It's very emotional, because just coming up in politics, you have experiences that you never forget. I often tell people that I was raised in the Lord and in politics. Yeah. So I was raised in both the Lord and politics, and just watching her, and that's Reverend Abernathy. That's one of Dr. King's, like one of his best friends. Wow. So a lot of those marches I got a chance as a child to participate in. So I have a lot of memories growing up, and I took an interest in politics and our rights as black people at a young age. I really did, because I saw the struggle, I saw the fight. And my mother, Gladys Taylor, was not only a welfare rights leader, she also had a national organization with the welfare rights, civil rights. So we put a lot on the line coming up. We marched with her. We experienced different things as children. And it's just so emotional just seeing her life, her legacy, the things that she actually left for us to follow. I'm still into politics. Yes. You still know where I'm coming from. Exactly. So I just feel that as a black woman that we are still in the fight, but we have won major victories. Yes. Major victories. Yes.
I 100% agree with you. The fight still continues. It still continues. I think it is so important for our younger generation, because I think they don't understand it as much, because some of us have tried to shield our children. And like you, I remember growing up with my mom never shield us
Yes.
from things like that. I remember particularly a few black young men were murdered, and my mom taking us to the funeral home to see their bodies. And people would say, hey, why would you expose your children to stuff like that? My mama was like, they need to know. I remember when Nelson Mandela came to Miami, and we went over to Charles Hadley Park for the thing, and I remember them shouting, free South Africa, free South Africa. I remember all of those things, and my mom made sure we were a part of those things.
Yes,
and likewise, your mom made sure you guys were a part of it. Now, who's in the stroller?
Those are actually two of John Doe, which was an attorney, Tanana Redo, which has a book that includes my mom in there. That picture is in a book of hers. So those are the two that's in the scroll. I believe they're John Doe and Pat Doe children. We're somewhere there, I'm not sure where. And because we were at a lot of the marches.
Exactly.
And just as kids, we would we knew that we were out there for a cause. We didn't understand everything, but we knew they were fighting for justice. So we would have our little signs and little made-up handwritten signs, and we'll be out there walking. And they always made us a part of it, so we would know that you have to fight for what you know is right.
That's right.
You have to fight for first of all, you need to be educated.
Yes.
Because education is a transmission of knowledge. Knowledge is an organized body of information. Information communicates that knowledge, so you got to be aware. You can't fight if you're not aware.
That's right.
And my mom taught us that at a young age, and we would be out there with her campaigning and just fighting for justice. And one of the things that my mom, she talked about was the march from Selma to Montgomery. And she would tell us those stories and how that when they were in college, as college students, how they would do sit-ins at the lunch counters because we were not allowed to eat at certain counters. But now we own our own counters.
That's right.
And we have different people from different various races, different ethnic backgrounds eating at our counters.
That's right.
They eating at our table now, but there was a time that we couldn't sit at the counter, so my mom would go as a college student and sit to be served in that kitchen or in that dining room where they didn't want us to sit at.
Yes.
But now we can sit anywhere we want to.
Yeah.
And they come and sit at our table and our counter. So I learned at a young age that growing up in civil rights that I had a right to be black.
Yes.
I had a right to be black.
Yes.
I have a privilege. It's a privilege to be black.
Yes.
And so I had that right to be black, and I realized that coming up and growing up, we didn't know as kids everything about it. And we didn't even know some of my mom's friends that would come to the house. They were just like Carrie Meek.
Yes.
We called her Miss Meek. We didn't know that she was the Carrie Meek.
Yes.
Barbara Carey, Gwendolyn Cherry. We would go to her house, and we would play outside while they meet inside. We just felt like as kids, she lived right on 46th Street in the Sub. You know about the Sub. And right there, we would play outside, and the longer we as children, the longer they talked and discussed politics, the longer we got time to play.
That's
So
right.
coming up, it was just awesome because we traveled so many places. We traveled all parts of Florida. My mom wasn't just local. She was nationwide. She was a part of the Selma to Montgomery March, where the dogs were released, where they were tear gassed, where they were beat down with billy clubs. I know they call it batons now, but back then it was billy clubs. Billy clubs, you know. That's what our parents called them, billy clubs. And but they got up and kept fighting because they knew that they had a right to be black, a right to vote. It didn't matter their race, but a right to vote. So it was so awesome growing up in politics. And I tell anybody, I'm still in the fight. I was still at the George Floyd When they were marching for him, I was right there. I got a picture. I think Trick Deli Dollars. I remember I'm standing up there with him, and so yes, we're still in the fight, but we have made some victorious moves. We have our black president.
Yes.
I believe it was a 44.
Yes.
So yes, we have made some progress.
I think it's so important that we all participate and in the continuance of the fight.
Yes.
And I think it's, beyond us just standing on the front lines and marching, but us allowing our voices to be heard collectively and as a people and unified. I think that's where the fight begins. We have to learn to stop fighting against one another. I think that was evident in the marches before us, the people that paved the way, because they fought in unison. They fought in oneness. They didn't fight against each other. They fought together. And I think this is what brought us thus far. So if we continue the fight and we pick up that same mantle and continue to fight together, it is unimaginable what we're able to do and succeed and conquer and advance in as a race and as a people. No matter how they try to hold us back, if we fight together, I remember just growing up as being, in a household with many other siblings. My dad used to always tell us, it's one fight, all fight. One fight, all fight. Because what he was telling us, because of where he came from, what he experienced, that there is more power in the togetherness. There's more power in us fighting together than us standing separate and apart and divided. So as we continue and we embrace Juneteenth, and as we continue to go, I want to ask, how far do you think we have come from Juneteenth until now? How far have we come?
Now, I'm not a smoker, but I just love that Virginia Slim commercial that they had where it says, "We've come a long way, baby." And I just feel like we've come a long way. We've come a long way. We've come a very long way. We're breaking barriers. We're breaking barriers. We're playing sports that they say didn't belong to us. See, not only do we play tennis, but we win tennis. That's right. See, we couldn't attend their schools, but now we have black superintendents of schools. Right. We have teachers, we have administrators, we have CEOs, we have CFOs, COOs. You see, we have, they didn't want us to vote. We were making decisions in a country that didn't want us to vote. Right. They didn't want us to vote, but now we're making decisions. Not only that, but we voted in a black president. That's right. See, God, I just feel like, and whenever you're talking about anything, one thing about when we marched, the church played a pivotal role. It did. The church always played a role. As we would travel, and I'm going to get back to the question, but as we would travel, we would stay inside of churches. That's right. We would sleep on the benches and on the floor. But the adults now, they always got the benches. If a bench was available to you as a child, you could get on the bench, but other than that, you were on the floor. Exactly. But the church always was there to feed us, to just be there for us. So you don't start, and no march was ever started without prayer. Yeah. So the church always played a pivotal role. So we got to get back in there. That's right. The church has got to get back in there. It's not their fight, it's our fight. Exactly. It's our fight. That's right. So I think that we've come a long way because we're progressing. Yeah. I heard Martin Luther King say in one of his speeches, we come to cash our check. Yeah. We're cashing our check. That's right. We're putting our footprints in the sand. Yeah. Our freedom is still ringing. Yeah. So we have come along. I don't drink from water fountains. Exactly. But I can if I want to. That's right. It don't have a Pacific race on it. Yes. I can sit at any counter. I don't have to sit at the back of the bus. That's exactly. Right. Take any seat. I could get on any seat. That's right. You see, I could worship as I want to worship. Yes. I could God has, I said to myself, I said, you know what? I thought about this thing. I said, God brought us up out of a horrible pit. Yes, he did. Out of the muck and the miry clay. Yes. I ain't gonna preach or nothing like that, but I just think
But
about
she
you-
is a preacher now. She is a preacher.
But you cannot go beyond what the Lord has done through these men and women of God, these civil rights leaders that sacrificed. There was so much blood shed and death. My mom talked about the late Honorable John Lewis during the Selma to Montgomery March. She said they sat there in those jails and they didn't know if John Lewis would even make it. He was so injured. So everybody was praying. Everybody was worried. There are people that have actually given their lives. They were spit on. And you still will not get up. They did all of this for you to have the right to vote. And to this day, we have the right to vote, but we won't go to the poll.
Come on, yes.
We won't go to the poll, but people were intimidated. People lost their lives. People were injured just for you to be able to vote. As a black woman, I feel like I've come a long way because I could walk up in my poll and cast my vote.
That's it.
I am a decision
Yes,
maker.
ma'am.
I'm a
Yes, ma'am.
decision maker.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a black decision maker. Not only a black one, but a black woman decision maker.
Yes.
You feel
Yes.
me?
Yes.
I believe that was Drake that say I started from the bottom.
Yes.
But now I'm here.
Yeah, that's right.
I started from the bottom.
Yes.
If you're looking for me, I'm way up.
That's right.
I'm way up.
Yes.
That was somebody else's song, but anyway, I think it was Fat Joe or somebody. But if you're looking for me, I'm way up. Because God brought us up out of that horrible pit.
Yes.
He used leaders. He used people to lead us. These were godly people. They prayed and asked direction of the Lord. They acknowledged to God. When they met, it was a meeting of the mind, meetings of the heart.
Yes.
And they realized that we got to, you don't just jump out there and go to march.
right.
You strategize.
That's right.
Now, you know my mama was accused of the 1970 riot. I don't know if y'all June 15th up there in Brown Sub. You know, she was accused of that riot, 1970. But it takes strategy. It takes the mind. You uniting, as you said, Lakeisha, that we unite as a people. We don't fight against each other because the fight is not against us. That's right. We're fighting together. United we stand and divided we'll fall. So I think that we've come a long way.
And I 100% agree with you. We have come a long way. You got me all stirred up because what happens is, and I do want to stick to the topic of Juneteenth, but it's all of it's a part of it. And being a part of the black church was fundamental. Nowadays, and I don't want to shift the conversation to a church conversation, but there's always been a difference between the black church and the white church. Even though we're trying to merge them and bring them all together, but the black church was on the front line of the civil rights movement.
Yes.
It was in the black church when the white churches wouldn't let us in there unless we were providing entertainment, not ministry, but entertainment. That we had to educate our children. We had to make sure our future generations were safe. And that's one of the reasons why I even teach some of the young people I'm in contact with who like to say, oh, you got on church shoes. I said, maybe they're not church shoes. They're called dress shoes. But the reason why we called them church shoes is because black people didn't get dressed up because of so much segregation back then. The only place we could get dressed up to go to was church. I said, but they're called dress shoes. And so when we consider how the black church has been the backbone for a lot of our movements, because prayer was the key. And a lot of our newer generation, we're somewhat losing our way. We're losing our way where we don't vote like we should. We don't church like we should, pray like we should. But all of this was the thing that brought us to our liberty, to where we are. And I love how you mentioned President Barack Obama. And I had somebody challenge me on that and say, you know, he didn't do nothing for the black people. I said he did a lot for the black people. I said one thing is just because he was in the office. Just because he was in the office.
Because you got to remember, we couldn't even vote.
Exactly.
That's right.
We we couldn't even vote, and we weren't only allowed in there except to clean it.
Thank you.
And now you're the head of it, and just being there
Yes. Made
was
us say,
inspiration for all of our future generations
Yes.
to say, if you can do it, I can do
Yes.
it too.
yes.
How do you say that Juneteenth fits in today's society? Because I have to be honest, I remember when Juneteenth wasn't highly recognized.
It was not. And just recently, I believe that was Opal Lee. She's she is a retired teacher and counselor. And in 2021, they signed officially. It's a federally recognized holiday, Juneteenth. Well, before they even made it official, I made it official. But now it's actually official. But I took it before they said Martin King, I take off. I ain't going in. Don't call me. Don't text me because I ain't going in. But they officially made it an official recognized holiday.
Yes.
So I tell you, it's and I heard a young man say something. I was listening to him online. He said, tomorrow is built on today.
Yes.
So if you want a better tomorrow, do something today.
Yes.
So what they did back then is coming into what we're experiencing now, which we're triumphant in so many different ways. And Juneteenth, you think about the fact that they didn't even know they were free.
Exactly.
And it took, I believe his name was Granger. I could have the name wrong. He had to come there and tell them, look, you're talking about over 200,000 people that were still enslaved and didn't know they were free.
Exactly.
Y'all free now. We's free now. We's free. You could go vote. We's free.
That's right.
You could go down there and cast your vote. We's free.
Yes.
So Juneteenth, coming into today's society, we learned that from past hurts and experiences that there's still hope.
Yes.
So in today's society, we know in difficult times there's still hope.
That's right.
Hope don't make you shame.
That's right.
All you gotta do is say, when you go, I hope so.
That's right.
We can do these things. We can be successful.
Yes.
We can sit at any counter.
Yes.
We can educate ourselves. We can be somebody.
Exactly.
So I think that as we go through this, we need to realize that there's nothing impossible.
Nothing.
I'm just hyped. Because I know that there's nothing that I can't do
Nothing.
as a black woman.
That's right.
If I want to run for president, I will.
That's right. Yes.
Because I can.
Yes. Yes.
I can.
Yes.
I
Yes.
can.
Yes.
And I'm
It's-
sorry, go ahead.
It's actually great to just hear all of this inspiration today because it is so needed as a remembrance
Yeah.
to us all and our culture and our race because even scripture tells us, God tells the Israelites to teach each generation the laws and the statutes from generation to generation. And I believe our history should never be omitted, but it shall be taught from generation to generation. And
yes.
when we fail to teach generations the history, they're trying to erase our history.
Yes,
They're
yes,
trying to
yes.
erase it from, academics and, in the curriculums. They're trying to erase our history as if it's irrelevant. But it's our responsibility as parents. It's our responsibility as grandparents. It's our responsibility as a race and a people to teach the history. To teach the history and not to let it be undermined because oftentimes, they want us to think it is irrelevant. And so I can remember the morning when I woke up, and they said we have a black president, President Barack Obama. And I remember as many of us, I'm pretty sure, got when you went out back to work or any environment you walked in, it was like, congratulations. Exactly. Yes, thank you. for
Thank
the
you.
recognition
Thank
that
you.
we have
Yes,
arrived
thank
here.
you.
Yes, we're at that point. Where are the balloons and the confetti? Yes,
Yeah,
we
we're here.
need this because as a people, it goes now into another part of our history
Mm-hmm.
to teach the generations after us. This is what is possible now. This is what we're capable and we're
Yes.
able to
Yes.
do. We're not
Yes,
ignorant. We're
Letitia,
not
come.
dumb. Every
Yes.
picture that they painted of us was wrong. It was erroneous. It is not the picture of our ancestors. It's not the picture because I think a lot of things that we inspired to do was undermined. And so they wanted to present it to the world, okay, as we are insufficient, we're incapable. But let me tell you, as history is continually be told, it's so many other stories that
Yes.
has not even been told.
Thank
and that's why I
you.
love
Thank
to just
you.
watch and reflect on history when it comes to the Black history. Because it encourages us, it empowers us, and it strengthens us. Because most of us are born in the struggle. You know, we are products of the struggle. And so if that's all we see, that's all we heard of, that's all we can imagine, then it limits our thinking. It limits our hope. But when you can hear stories and read on what others have obtained and accomplished, oh, it just always. So I do want to ask, did you?
And let me just add
Okay.
this, and I'll let you ask the question because I'm 100% with you in that vein. Because one of the things I wanted to just add is our history is nothing to be ashamed of.
No.
It is nothing to be ashamed of, but it is something that will empower us when we embrace its totality. So so when we hear the names of Gladys Taylor,
Yes,
and
yes.
we're keeping those things alive.
Yes, yes.
These are the things that we have to embrace. So for everyone, and it's not just Black, but the Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, our history affects your history as well. Go ahead.
Yes. And so I wanted to just ask the question, did your mom frequently discuss the needs of African Americans as you were growing up? Did she frequently discuss that with
She
you?
did, and interestingly enough that you had mentioned the part about history and telling your kids the stories. And my mom would sit down and she would tell us the stories of how she conducted herself at the counters and things like that, and how she was a part of the sit-ins as a college student, and all the things that she had experienced. And she told us about history, and like I said, about John Lewis and the various things that she felt that we needed to know in order to make us strong as Black individuals. And you have to realize that when you tell stories, you're giving information. Yes. You're planting knowledge. Yes. So my mom would frequently, we had what was called Johnson Hall, in the historic Black St. John Church in Overtown. Yeah. And it was called Johnson Hall, and that's where they would meet every Saturday morning. They would have politicians there. They would have various elected officials. They would have the community there. They would have the civil rights leaders there. And they would discuss things that were going on in the Black community. Sometimes they would get frustrated. Sometimes there'll be disagreements. But it came down to one thing. They all wanted one thing: justice for the Black people. Yes. So she would always discuss the needs, and anybody could come to her, and she would try her best to help them if there was a need. And as I said, that she was with the National Welfare Rights Group, and if there was any issues with food stamps, because you know a lot of people got food stamps. We got them. Yes. We got them. I lived in public
I wish
housing.
I could get them now, but hey.
So when there were issues like that we were not being treated right, because other people could come from another country. Exactly. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on the podcast. Yes. And you could get food stamps, you could get welfare, and you could get this and you could get that. But here we are born in this country. We're Black, born in this country. We were not able to get those same benefits. So my mom would go out and discuss that and fight for people to get their rightful. We had a right to it too. Right. We want to feed our children. They hungry. They eat too. That's right. Coming up, my mom always discussed issues and the need for the people. That was one of the things that caused a riot. They say she incited a riot back there in 1970 over at a store because she was picketing outside. Actually, my mom, that I can remember, I think it was only her and I up there. doing the picketing, but they said that she incited the riot. It's in the book. It's around it. You look it up. You can Google it. But anyway, it was a 1970 riot because what she found out was they were selling, in our community, they were selling spoiled goods.
You are an awesome guest. I have to just let
thank
you,
you.
and I am enjoying every minute
Thank you
of
for having me.
this
Yes, indeed.
because as we continue to celebrate Juneteenth again, it is so important. And if you have any Juneteenth festivities, I encourage you to
Yeah.
go be a part of
Be a
it.
part.
Be a part of it because it is America's history. It's not
Yeah.
just Black America history. It is America's history. And so we're celebrating the knowledge. We go real big for Independence Day, 4th of July. However, we all want free back in those days. We got to be free now. Now we can really celebrate. So we want to see your Juneteenth pictures. Send those in. We want to see your celebrations concerning Juneteenth and everything else.
We personally want to just say thank you to Ann Johnson. Francois and I truly appreciate you for yielding your time, joining us on this segment of our Juneteenth podcast. And so we thank you again for joining us. Don't forget to like, to share, and to also upload those pictures, share those Juneteenth pictures with us. We want to add them to our collage. We want to let it be known to the world. We reverence Juneteenth. So again, thank you. And until next time, you make it a great one.